Hello and welcome to this video where I will be documenting my voyage to Oxford to look at a picture of a fat catfish. Now, some of you might be wondering why I did this. Well, in case you are unfamiliar with the backstory, which you probably are as I am a literal nobody on social media, allow me to explain. In 2019, I made a Twitter account to anonymously vent about my awful experience doing a PhD in a toxic work environment. But then I discovered a magical corner of Twitter known as Fish Twitter, which is a place full of scientists and hobbyists discussing fish and posting fish art. As an artist, who is also a biologist and whose favorite animals are fish and who has been creating fish art for many years at this point, I had finally found a place to share my art with like-minded people and garner an audience consisting of more than just my sister and my two friends from high school. A few months ago, I was made aware of the Lost Fishes Art Challenge via Fish Twitter, which was hosted by an organization called SHOAL that focuses on conservation of freshwater ecosystems, which are one of the most threatened ecosystems on the planet. The Lost Fishes Challenge was part of their Search for the Lost Fishes campaign, which involves organizing research expeditions to different parts of the world to search for a selection of 10 freshwater fish species that haven't been seen in decades. On Twitter, the challenge was presented as, "Hey, here's this list of missing fish species, why not draw one?" And when I saw that the list included a catfish, literally called fat catfish, I was sold. You see, I love catfish and they're my favorite fish, and the fatter they are, the better. So, for the next few weeks, I got to work on my catfish illustration. Initially, I just wanted it to be a relatively quick sketch using a crazy color palette to challenge myself artistically, but then things got a bit out of hand. After drawing the catfish, I realized I couldn't just leave it without a fitting background, so I thought to myself, why not challenge myself some more and actually put some effort into rendering a background, which is something I usually avoid because I work full time and I don't really have that much time and energy to spend on art. So, over the next few weeks, I would try to spend a few hours per week working on the piece. Art is kind of therapeutic for me in that way, as it helps me unwind from my crappy work life and makes me feel at least somewhat productive. I tried to depict the Colombian Lake Tota in the background, as this is the lake that the catfish species is endemic to and where it hasn't been seen anymore since the 1950s. After completing this piece, I realized the competition was still ongoing and I could actually email them the thing. So I did. Well, imagine my surprise when, like a week later, they let me know that my catfish ended up being selected as the overall winner of the entire challenge. I was not expecting to win in any category with this thing, let alone the entire competition, as the thing was very much not what they were asking for in the competition description. And honestly, that really made my week. I usually don't win much, especially when it comes to art, as it is typically something that doesn't resonate much with other people, which is okay because I primarily do it for myself. But it's still nice when you do occasionally succeed in producing a piece that somehow finds resonance. The only other times I won anything art related was one time when I won the grade 9 art award in high school, and then in 2004 when a clay Apatosaurus I sculpted won me a pack of Walking with the Dinosaurs 3D trump cards, and yes, I still have those. Also, this is not art related, but I want to share it anyways. In 2010, at an open museum event, I answered a question about cockroaches correctly and then became the patron of a cockroach called Emil, who then promptly won a cockroach race, and then I ended up receiving a certificate and a bookmark as a result. And there you go, that was a summary of my greatest successes in life. So back to the catfish. I was told the winning artworks will actually be printed on canvases and then displayed in the Oxford Museum of Natural History between the 29th and the 31st of October, which was around 2 weeks away at that point. As I am located near Paris, which is only around 2.5 hours away from London by train, and London is only around an hour away from Oxford, and I have friends and relatives in London with whom I can stay, I decided to go there because why not? This could provide the perfect little escape from my dreary PhD life and would let me reconnect with my peeps in the UK and celebrate this little success. And so I booked tickets for the Eurostar, aka the most overpriced train in existence. And then we were ready to roll. So it's 1 a.m. and this is what I've been packing so far. I ended up taking my big 50-liter hiking bag to fit in as many cheddars as I can on my way back. So these are some of the snacks I'm gonna bring as souvenirs, including the most delicious snack ever. Like, I can eat an entire kilo of those. They're so tasty. Those are all going in here. I also have a bag within a bag, and then this will be my bag for the train. And here's the snake. Hello. And so, on Friday morning, the monstrosity and I were off. This was my first time traveling to the UK after the Brexit travel restrictions had been fully implemented, which was a bit annoying. But what was actually much more of a nightmare were the COVID restrictions in form of the passenger locator form I had to fill out before traveling to the UK, which was much more of a hassle than traveling to the US, which was quite surprising. I actually arrived at the Gare du Nord late, only 1 hour and 30 minutes before departure instead of the suggested 2 hours, but in the end it took around 10 minutes to get through pass control and security, so I was just loitering around the train stations for the next hour. The train ride itself was super unremarkable. The Eurostar is basically just a normal train with terrible Wi-Fi connection that goes through a tunnel at some point and then pops out in the UK. There's not much more to it. And then I was in London again. It was quite nice to be bumbling around London again, as I hadn't been there for over 2 years at this point. I actually lived in the UK for 4 years because I did my bachelor's and master's there. So it's a place I'm quite familiar with. Compared to living in France, there are some things I miss, such as the lack of a language barrier, a less pronounced cultural barrier, and more acceptance of alternative styles. Also, there's the fact that it is so much easier to be vegetarian or vegan here. It's crazy. Seriously, almost all restaurants in the UK, at least in most parts of the UK, will have at least a few veggie and vegan options. Here, just look at this vegan salmon I found at a sushi place. Paris could never. Anyways, the next day, my entourage and I embarked on our Oxford day trip. Lucky as we were, we managed to travel on a day where the rest of London also seemed to think it would be great to go to Oxford. I had never seen a rail station in the UK so packed, and we ended up having to stand in the train corridor next to the toilets for like an hour. The first thing we did when we arrived in Oxford was to go on a walking tour we booked in advance for like £15 per person. The tour took around 1.5 hours and it took us through many of the fancy colleges. I had never been in Oxford before, but it reminded me a lot of Cambridge, although I think Oxford is actually older than Cambridge. It turned out that it was graduation day on that day, so the place was absolutely crawling with people in caps and gowns, which probably explains why everyone and their grandma wanted to be on the train to Oxford on that day. After an awesome vegetarian meal, we then finally headed to the Museum of Natural History, and there it was. I hope that montage didn't weird you out a bit too much. Maybe I went slightly overboard with the music, but I had this artistic vision that had to be realized. I ended up having a nice chat with the event organizers from SHOAL, who are managing the exhibition, and my travel buddies received a little tour of all the artworks and the different missing fishes they represent. So thanks again for taking the time to talk to us and show us around. I really appreciate that. The museum itself is densely packed with all sorts of paleontological and archaeological artifacts, but unfortunately we didn't have much time to explore as we had to get back to London. But all in all, I'd say it was a very successful and eventful day trip. That Sunday evening, I ended up staying at a friend's place in Windsor, and then Sunday I was social, and I also had this weird blue latte, which looks pretty cool, right? And then it was time to enjoy my last decaf sugar-free soy vanilla latte. Good luck trying to get a drink like that in France. And then I hopped back onto the Eurostar, and that was the end of that. It is midnight and I am back home. The Eurostar was really uneventful, but then I had to end up taking a taxi because for some reason the two train lines I could normally take both had issues and weren't going. So yeah, I had to take a taxi, so I am 50 euros poorer. And in the end, I spent so much time that I didn't have time to buy any of the cheddars or the cupcakes that I wanted to buy. And the only two things I took home as souvenirs are a box of broccoli and lentils we had at a restaurant and weren't able to finish on time, and then a pothos and a begonia courtesy of my friend. Also, the snake seems to have finished digesting and then gone on a bit of a rampage in here, so time to clean that up and then go to bed. Okay, that was probably one of my longest videos so far. I wonder if anyone actually enjoyed this or watched it. But yeah, if you did, thanks for watching. And if this kind of content vibes with you, then you can like subscribe. If not, it's okay, I understand. All right, goodbye.